Do you think you're the devil himself?
No, but I do have a good mirror.
It's a serious question.
I'm sorry.
Do you think you're the devil himself?
I don't know. Why would you say that?
Well, see, first of all, it's normal when you go to the Old Testament, Moloch and the Baals, they wanted the children. Explained to me by Satanists because it's a higher level of blasphemy to God, against God. It's and for some reason the demons love bringing that kind of harm. We look at a child and automatically we're going to protect them, save them, guard them, whatever it takes. They look at a child, they alive, they torture it. Got to remember that's their nature, and so if they can show more of their nature to a defenseless child, they love that. That's why some rituals are called demon revels or satanic revels. The younger the child, here's exactly what dark undergrounders have said to me in rituals. The younger, the better. Think in terms of rats and garbage. Smelly old garbage draws the rats. A ritual with all that torture, with all that pain, ultimately prescribed by the demons in the first place, it draws them. And once they begin to open the blood gate, that's what they attach to in the context ritual. Then when a child or a human is, that's when the demons are released to the practitioners. So it's all about their unsatiable hatred of God. Anything they can do to harm humanity, harm innocence as an attack on God in a sense, there's no question in their nature, they don't shed a tear. They don't have any mercy. So they'll harm, and they love that as part of the entrance to come into the side.
The name that Jeffrey Epstein gave to his bank account, it's none other than Baal, the pagan god in the Old Testament that's often associated with Satan himself, that the Israelites and others sacrificed their firstborn children to. So this was a demon that babies were sacrificed to. And Epstein names his bank account by the name of this demon. Here's a memorandum from Jeffrey Epstein to JP Morgan. Please wire $11,438 from the above account to Baal, name, Wachovia Bank. Now this demon and the sacrifices of children made to this demon are described in the Old Testament in the book of Jeremiah. The things that we do know Jeffrey Epstein did are just as horrible as what the Israelites did in the Old Testament in sacrificing their firstborn to Baal. So no matter how this shakes down with the situation with the bank account, Jeffrey Epstein, what he and his clients did was horribly wrong and needs to be condemned.
As you probably heard, the latest Epstein files are absolutely disgusting. World leaders are exposed. Former presidents are exposed. Everyone who you would consider an elite has been exposed in these files. And when you even look at the specific documents and read what it entails, it's disgusting. Matter of fact, it's past disgusting, it's straight up demonic. All of it is centered behind little children being taken advantage of, abused, and even worse. I don't even want to get into the details that are in these files. And what's crazy is, even though these files are released, nothing's gonna happen. These people won't get locked up. Why? Because they're the rulers of this world. And the Bible has talked about this in Ephesians 6:12, where it says, "For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places." That describes this world to a T. The rulers of this world, the elites, they're demonic.
For years, there has been a long-standing conspiracy theory that Hollywood and the elites harvest the blood of young people and transfuse it in order to reverse age. And now the Epstein files might have revealed that that is in fact true. In this email to Jeffrey Epstein, it says, all you need is a blood transfusion from the pack and you reverse aging. This is where adrenochrome comes into play. It is a real chemical compound found in the blood when the body is in a fight or flight situation. And we know that the kids that were involved in Jeffrey Epstein's network were definitely put into fight or flight. And of course, we've seen Hollywood elites like Chrissy Teigen tweet about how they're going to a party where they're serving up 4-year-old cheese pizza with adrenochrome and of course the eye emoji. And according to the FBI code words, cheese stands for little girl and pizza stands for girl. Now back to the email. The subject is Dr. Agus, a professor of medicine and biomedical engineering at USC, pretty local to Hollywood. He is also the founding director and CEO of the Ellison Medical Institute. You know, the medical institute funded by Larry Ellison, the new owner of TikTok. And he's also hosted a Paramount show with big celebs like Ashton Kutcher and Oprah Winfrey. If you know, you know. And I think that Hollywood and the elites have been using predictive programming to get us used to this idea. Take Monsters Inc., for example, where a bunch of monsters go into little kids' rooms to get them to scream, harvest those screams, and then provide energy for the city of monsters. Except in reality, the monsters are a little less cartoon-like.
It is the fastest growing international crime network that the world has ever seen. It has already passed the illegal arms trade, and soon it's gonna pass the drug trade. Because you can sell a bag of coke one time to a child 5 to 10 times a day. God's children are not for sale.
Go and rescue those kids.
When God tells you what to do, you cannot hesitate.
Well, there's no other film like this. Our industry can't make this film right now because of a lot of people that are involved in it all over the world that are in this. And many of these people are very famous. We're at that point right now. And if we let our little ones continue to be slaughtered, boy, there's going to be a judgment on this world, and especially our country. The adrenochroming of children, look, where we're at right now, hopefully we need your prayers.
You said a word a minute ago, and I want to clarify what that word was, because you said a word, and I want to make sure that you said adrenochrome.
Yeah.
And a lot of people here, there's about 4,500 people here. There's about 500,000 people streaming online. But you said that word, and by a show of hands, who's heard that word before in this building? Could you please explain, to the extent that you want to or not want to, what that is? Because some people have never heard that before, and we need to discuss that.
Essentially, you have adrenaline in your body. I'll just simplify it. And when you are scared, you produce adrenaline. If you're an athlete, you get in the fourth quarter, you have adrenaline that comes out of you. If a child knows he's going to die, his body will secrete this adrenaline, and they have a lot of terms that they use that he takes me through. It's beyond, and these people that do it, there'll be no mercy for them. And when at that point where I have tears coming out of my eyes because my heart is so on fire, I'm fearless. You're fearless. You're the best that you will ever be when God is in your heart like that. And when it's burning, you're fearless, and you're not afraid of the devil. You actually hunt him. And any of them that hurt our little children in the film, there's a line in there where he says, why are you doing this? And I say to him, as Tim said, because God's children are not for sale. They're not for sale. You can't do it anymore, Satan. And we're coming after you. And I'm not afraid, and I ask you all not to be afraid either, because they're worth saving.
They're giving you a standing ovation right here in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Okay, let's talk about this facial that you're obsessed with. Explain what it is.
Well, it's this way in which one forces through microneedling, pushes a
What are you
serum
pushing into the skin, Sandra?
It is an extraction from a piece of skin that came from a young person far, far away, and they somehow figured out how to extract.
It's foreskin from a Korean baby. That's what it is.
Okay.
Who comes up with this?
I don't think, and it's not like I'm lying there with little pieces all over my face. It's like, I call it the penis facial, and I think when you see how good it is to your face, you too will run to your local facial.
Tiny baby Korean.
I'm here going,
Korean.
let it not be a whisker or a peen. Let it, are you all good here? Okay, we're all good. Now, well, so be it.
What is this shit?
That stuff? Adrenochrome.
Adrenochrome?
Don't. Pull all his teeth out. Trace the comb, put you straight behind bars. No, move it to the Tropicana right away.
I think there's only one source for this stuff. The adrenaline gland from a living human body.
I know.
What kind of monster client have you hooked up with this time?
Satanism freak.
Where'd you get this?
Never mind, it's absolutely pure. You offered me human blood, said it would take me higher than I'd ever been in my life. Thought he was kidding. So I told him I'd just as soon have an ounce or so of pure adrenochrome. Or maybe just a fresh adrenaline gland to chew on.
So this is one of Oprah's favorites. She says it's a miracle fountain of youth and her magic wrinkle cure. It'll fill in all those lines and wrinkles, and Oprah looks great. So I'm gonna put a little on your hand.
How come it's red?
I'll show you in a sec, Steve. But so it's made from human foreskin.
You tell Oprah this what's on her face?
There were a couple protesters about it because they are cells from baby foreskin.
Oh, baby foreskin.
That makes it better.
Yeah, that's different. I thought it was some grown-ass man.
Boyfriend have been in a good relationship for quite a moment now.
Yeah,
years.
yeah, for 7 years.
Now he's an early 30 and you're a late 50.
Yeah.
But somehow you both look the same age there. I mean, you know, there's something to be said for being with a younger man.
I suck baby's blood. And put it on my face.
Controversial new treatment that may hold promise, but at a price.
It does appear to reverse the aging process.
Dr. Jessie 𝗟𝗏 is talking about transfusions with the young blood from teenagers, and he says it just may turn back the hands of time. That blood is going to patients over 35 as part of a clinical trial called Ambrosia, where subjects paid $8,000 to get the rich growth factors found in the platelets in blood's plasma.
There's pretty much people from most states, people from overseas, from Europe and Australia.
There have not been any published results, but the intriguing concept still found its way into pop culture.
It's my transfusion associate.
Dr. 𝗟𝗏 says patients who have had it say they feel amazing, and he has seen evidence of reversing the aging process in rats.
Brains are younger hearts. Their hair, if it was gray, just turns dark again.
Dr. 𝗟𝗏 says that he plans to open a young blood lab in New York in the coming months.
No one can seem to agree on anything anymore except for two things. Pizza and us. And us.
I eat children. How old are you?
12.
Oh, okay. Only to 10.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Children and pineapple. Children and pineapple. Children and pineapple.
This type of figure exists basically in every country, in every industry, and they're not all as prominent as Epstein, but Given Jeffrey Epstein's, involvement through, the early 2000s Clinton era and everything, given his involvement in everything from Israeli to Saudi to British to French high-level government officials.
One of the weirder things about these files is there's some stuff in there that you go, okay, one thing that we know happens is when something is true, a bunch of stuff gets attached to it that's both not true and also preposterous that allows you to sort of dismiss all of it together. There's a lot of people thought about that with Pete. And there's some stuff that I saw online that was like George W. Bush was like involved in ritual sacrifice or things along those lines, like killing babies and eating people and wild shit.
Yeah.
What do you think that stuff is?
I don't know. I don't.
Do you think it really occurs?
What I'll say is this is a bad week to be a total denialist. You would feel a lot more comfortable about it a week ago than you would this week.
So what did he witness? What did he witness on that yacht that fateful day that these FBI agents are talking about in this internal email? Well, he witnessed, let's just say, they witnessed babies that were being unalived. And pieces of those were removed from them and consumed. Let's just say that, all right? Whether or not this happened, you be the judge. I'm just presenting to you what's in the emails. But it doesn't stop there, because this man, this victim, described it as a ritualistic sacrifice. He even said that his own feet were the scimitar. And guys, here's the crazy part. Again, I'm not saying whether this is true or not, I'm just saying it's simply in the files. This man, he named George H.W. Bush. And we know he was in Skull and Bones, and he's been accused of being let's just say, involved with some pretty shady things.
Barrick just sent Epstein some photos, and Barrick is fully aware of what Epstein is doing. Barrick responds with, "Hope you're good, let's catch up." And Epstein finally says, "Send photos of you and child. Make me smile." The world is ran by people sending Jeffrey Epstein photos of their children.
It is the mark of a villain. Kidnapping children is not what great nations do.
Seems that it wasn't only the trafficking of young girls, as the narrative suggests, but there are code words that suggest Jeffrey Epstein and his associates could maybe even be engaging in some sort of consumption. Is that human consumption? Are there code words? There's a lot of talk of beef jerky. There's a restaurant called The Cannibal where the owner is listed in some of these documents that make you wonder. And I saw more emails about and these coded conversations still have a very clear topic. It was a big driver for them, and these were sick people doing very, very sick things.
People going crazy think they found a code word for human meat? Wait, what? Who sends beef jerky to a lab for analysis? Wait, what? Hope you are feeling better. Did we analyze the jerky? Why didn't we get jerky this week? I also added more to the jerky and ginger lemongrass. Thank you so much, super cool. Beef jerky, delicious. Jojo is here and we'll walk the jerky over to Jeffrey. We'll walk the jerky over to Jeffrey. Why would jerky walk around? Why would it do that? Delicious lunch, beef jerky, Steve and I are very grateful above all for your friendship. Some of these emails are so wholesome, aren't they? It's too bad they eat kids. A small insulated bag would be fine. I don't remember checking it. No need for crazy amounts of ice. One should do. There is one bag of beef jerky in the fridge. Please get it. Also, Blank has more at her place. Please get it from her as well. I suppose it needs to be in a cold, insulated bag. Just wanted to touch base about jerky. J.E. said he was going to start eating regular food again, so he might be eating less us jerky. He said he has 6 bags of it in a downstairs freezer. Why would you freeze jerky? Steve needs a 6 to 8 ounce portion of jerky. I gave you all the jerky we had, and it lasted only half the amount of time it was meant to. I felt like it was more important for you to have the jerky to eat during my time off. My plan is to make a batch before I leave for LSJ, and some of that will go to Steve, and the rest will go to you at LSJ when I arrive. Little St. James Island. That's what LSJ must mean. So logically, that means that they were doing this off of the island. Steve Hansen is sending jerky to your attention overnight. I believe it should be enough to get him through. Jeffrey Epstein is asking to bring him more jerky. I'm flying in on Friday. I will bring jerky. Is there a time I could come say hi and drop off the beef jerky? And that's from Jeffrey Epstein. Francis has time to come tomorrow. Show me how to make it. Jerky class anyone. He will bring you to taste his new jerky recipe from the restaurant. He sends a warm hello. He's working at a restaurant called guys, the restaurant's called Cannibal and Cooks. Wait for it, beef jerky and steak. Can blank make some jerky? I think we should landscape all around the house to use the water if possible, if the main house is not enough.
Everybody's already reading these. And it's so what's happened is there's an interesting situation now where a lot of people online know this, but none of the shows are covering it. So, and none of the legacy media is covering it. So there's 2 different worlds. People who understand some of the horrors that happen, and others who are kind of clueless about who did it, why they did it, what did they do, how bad was it?
Person who sent an email to Jeffrey Epstein, we don't know who it is, we don't even have their name. They just simply wrote, I am in China, I will be in the US second week of May. To which Jeffrey Epstein responded, where are you? Are you okay? I loved the Twitter video. I think the public deserves to know who sent Jeffrey Epstein a Twitter video. And more importantly, what happened to that person? Where is that person today? Was that person ever investigated?
And now our government tells us, oh no, golly gee, we can't find any of the videos. And then we have legacy media doing nonsensical stories about, oh, we don't know if there were video. Yeah, I mean, sure, every room had a camera, but we don't know that they taped anything. Oh, come on, please. So now people are starting to have a little bit of despair here and significant anger, because they're saying, well, okay, our government obviously doesn't work for us because they knew all of this for decades. And they covered it all up. And it didn't matter who you voted for, they all covered it up. So I don't want to hear any crap about Democrat or Republican on this. All of them are guilty.
That's right.
Everyone that was ever in the executive branch that had any information about this, you all covered it up. And it's super obvious why you covered it up, because it involves intelligence agencies. So the government says, under no condition will we serve the American people. We will serve the monsters who did this. And then our media comes in and goes, Bill Gates, Donald Trump, Elon Musk, whatever, shiny objects, squirrels. Okay, go get all the sun. I don't mind that at all. But you're not talking about who organized this. It is obviously a giant organization. They send women all across the globe to some of the most powerful people on earth. And the mainstream media wants us to believe that there was no organization. It was just Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell just walking around, and it was shush, shush. No, we're not gonna shush. This is stuff made of like horror. These are horror stories. And so how horrible are the people in charge that they know this happens and they make sure we never find out about it?
But one of the places one of the islands that Jeff Epstein owned or he was affiliated with was an island called Little St. James. And if you Google this, there was a temple that he had built on Little St. James. And basically the temple was believed to be a temple that was built to Moloch. Now, some of you may be like, who is Moloch? Some of you guys that read your Bible a lot, especially in the Old Testament, you may already know who Moloch is, but it's a lot of times it's chalked up as conspiracy theory or it's made fun of. But Moloch is an actual deity. It's actually in the Bible. And if most people don't read the Bible or don't know that, they don't realize that Moloch is in the Bible, and there's a reason why they believe that some of the things that were going on, they were going on, especially if it was a temple that was erected for that purpose, for the purpose of worshiping Moloch. And when you look in the Old Testament, you know, before the Israelites had entered Canaan, God warned them not to participate in Moloch worship. And I'm going to read a couple scriptures to you guys. And now listen to this. This is super powerful. Leviticus 18:21 says, "And thou shalt not let any of thy seed," this is God talking, "pass through the fire to Molech," but that's just another name for Moloch, to Molech. "Neither shalt thou profane the name of thy God. I am the Lord." Now don't miss that when it said, you know, let any of thy seed, you know, thou shalt not let any of thy seed pass through the fire to Molech. Leviticus 20:2 says, "Again, thou shalt say to the children of Israel, whosoever he be of the children of Israel, or of the strangers that sojourn in Israel." So he says, whether you are a child of Israel or you are a stranger just sojourning in Israel, that giveth any of his seed unto Molech, he shall surely be put to death. The people of the land shall stone him with stones. This is how serious God was when it came to the worship of Moloch and the passing of the seed through the fire to Moloch. And just to give you a little background on it, the Phoenicians were a loosely gathered group of people who inhabited Canaan. In addition to sexual rituals, watch this, and now think about some of you that have seen some of these videos made on YouTube or hear people talking about these things that some have chalked up to be, oh, they're kooky, that, you know, that can't possibly be going on. Listen to what they were doing. It says, in addition to sexual rituals, Moloch worship. So one of the Moloch worships was sexual rituals, and that's the thing that we hear that are believed that a lot of these celebrities, politicians, especially those that were connected to Jeff Epstein, especially at that temple. And, you know, they even have some of Jeff Epstein's flight logs where they said that there were prominent people on those flight logs, you know, that have went to some of these islands and some of these places. But I don't want you to miss what this is saying. It is saying that in addition to sexual rituals, Moloch worship included child sacrifice. Once again, that's another thing you hear, people talking about children being sacrificed, people talking about how, you know, there have been documented where countries said that people came in and took, you know, like poor countries, and paid them to take the majority of their kids to be, you know, trafficked and sacrificed. You hear all of these things and you think that it's kind of sounds silly and it's a joke, and it's just letting you know that, listen, this is no joke. The children are being hunted after. They're being sought after. Satan hates the children because it reminds them of the love of God. It says Moloch worship included child sacrifice or passing children through the fire. That's what God was telling them. It says, it is believed that idols of Moloch were giant metal statues of a man's with a bull's head. Each image had a hole in the abdomen and possibly outstretched forearms that made a kind of ramp to the hole. A fire was lit in or around the statue. Babies were placed in the statue's arm or in the hole. When the couple sacrificed their firstborn, watch this, they believed that Moloch would ensure financial prosperity for the family and the future children. If you are anybody that have ever watched any videos dealing with, you know, powerful families, powerful politicians, powerful movie stars, pedophilia rings and all that, these are the types of things that you have heard. But listen, this goes way back in the Bible, that they were people that were passing their children through the fire to Moloch, where they were worshiping him, believing that he was going to bring them certain power and certain wealth. Like, these things are real. I can't tell you everybody that is involved and not involved. You know, that's up to God to reveal. I mean, we got ideas of who are involved and not involved. Things that we hear about, a lot of these things are not made up. A lot of these things are going on. There are people that are trafficking these little kids. There are people that are sacrificing these little kids, taking their lives. So many kids disappear every day that it is unbelievable and outrageous, because this is Satan's world. The Bible says he is the God of this world, and he has the minds of those that do not belong to Christ. So this is a falling world, and that's why he says, listen, you better get close to me and hold on to me. He that endures to the end shall be saved. This is not a game. Things that you're going to begin to find out that a lot of times we don't talk about in church is going to be disgusting to you. It's going to be almost to the point, if God was to open the lens of our eyes and allow us to see all the spiritual demonic activity that's going on around us and all of the things that are happening around us, even right next door to us, the neighbor next door or whatever have you, we would think God let us down. That's how wicked this place is. But God's fame to claim, his glory is in that he keeps his children in a perverse and wicked generation, and that he's going to deliver his children. The Bible says that he knows those that are his. So we're winning. Just because everybody's acting crazy and the world is dying, that doesn't mean that we're not winning. We are absolutely winning. The devil is playing for keeps, and one of the main things he wants to get a hold of is your child, or is somebody else's child. You may not have a child, but you need to be praying for these children. You need to keep your eye out on everything that you see, anything suspicious, because I'm telling you, it is wild out here, and it's been wild, but it seems like now more and more God is revealing these things because it's going to get worse, and it is already getting worse. But you hear these stories of child, you hear all of these things, and a lot of times it's made a mockery of, and it's laughed at. And a lot of times, if you notice who's laughing at it and making a mockery of it, it's those that are in power, those that are controlling the news and all of these things. And I'm not saying that every single news report is fake, but this is what I will say. And I'm not a big person on news. I don't really watch a lot of news. I don't really follow politics and that. I don't get caught up and be arguing back and forth about who was the best president, none of that, because I understand that what the scripture says, that Satan is the God of this world and its kingdoms and systems. And not only that, this is the thing that we have to really think about, guys. Like, really think about this. The Bible says that Satan is the father of lies, that the truth abode not in him. So if he's the God of this world, the system, and he is the father of lies, we have to ask ourselves, how much can we trust the information that's coming out of the system? Remember, everything is about information. Information is key. That's that when we become saved, what do? We learn his word. We learn of him. We stand on his every word, all of the information that he is giving us, that he is downloading into us. So if Satan is the God of this world and the controller of the media and the systems, why do you think he's going to give you something that is going to be beneficial to you, or that's going to help you to have a better life? Of course he's not. And that's why God says, acknowledge me in all of your ways so that I can direct your paths. That's why he said constantly read your word or try to listen to some type of scriptures. So when you hear somebody talking something contrary to what it is I am saying, you can identify it, and a red flag will go up like, well, that doesn't sound quite right. No matter how high this person is in politics or how big of a movie star they are. And this is the thing that mainly influences people to follow people, is their natural status. But God says this is not about natural, this is not about natural status or where you are naturally. This is all about spiritual status. This is all about having a spiritual treasure, the treasure that's in this earthen vessel. That's what makes the children of God rich. And I wanted to tell you guys, listen, because even the children of Israel got caught up in the worship of Moloch. Jeremiah 32 verses 32 through 35 says, because of all the evil of the children of Israel, this is God talking, and of the children of Judah, which they have done to provoke me to anger, they, their kings, their princes. So he's like, listen, they have provoked me to anger. He's going to say why. He says their princes, their priests, and their prophets, and the men of Judah, and the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and they have turned unto me the back. So he says, listen, they have turned their back to me and not the face, though I taught them, rising up early and teaching them, yet they have not hearkened to receive what? Instruction. That's what we was just talking about. It's all about instruction, information. God goes on to say, but they set their abominations in the house, which is called by my name, to defile it. So he says they have set abominations in my house, the house of the Lord, to defile it. He says, and they built the high places of Baal, which are in the valley of the son of Hinnom, to cause their sons and their daughters to pass through the fire unto Moloch, which I commanded them not, neither came it into my mind. God says, listen, I commanded them not. He said, it didn't even come into my mind that they should do this abomination to cause Judah to sin. Like, this is how crazy them passing their children through the fire is, or them sacrificing their children to the fire was. And that is what's going on today. And that's why Satan is constantly encouraging trials, sacrificing to Moloch. These individuals that are sacrificing these children to Moloch and violating these children through pedophilia and all that is because Satan enjoys to see that. But what he makes them believe is that they're receiving power from it. And what they don't understand is the kingdoms belong to Satan. So they don't necessarily have to do that to little children to get that power because it belongs to Satan. But he has it in their mind that if you do this, you're going to get more powerful and powerful. But I'm the one providing you this worldly power because I am the God of this world. So that's why this is the thing that you have to understand about Satan. Satan is a beast. He's a monster. He's going to do whatever he can to go up against God and defile or try to defile the things that God loves. Like, this is what he does. And this is why we have to be on our P's and Q's, guys. This is why we can't follow behind every person we see of some type of influence and status in this world. I don't care if it's a preacher standing in the pulpit. We got to judge everything they say by his word. But we see here, even the children of Israel got caught up with it. Listen, this is not anything new, guys. This attack on the children, whether it's sexual, whether it's murder, it is not anything new. And I'm here to encourage you guys. Cry out for these children. Pray for your own children. Keep an eye on them. Be prayerful about what school they go to. Keep an eye on them, what they're being taught in school, because now we're hearing all of these different curriculums that they want to come up with and teach them about things that they don't even need to know about at the ages that they are. It is serious business, guys. And understand this, it's not only in higher up elites and politicians. These are things that are also going on in lower levels, like, pedophilia and the culture of pedophilia is not something new. We just got to really filter and watch some of these things that they're watching, some of the movies they're coming out with nowadays. It's hard to find a cartoon that's not talking something of a mature nature. Like, it's out of control. And another thing that you're hearing about a lot now that, once again, it's kind of dismissed as like conspiracy theory or you just going overboard. There's no way. But the whole, not only child sacrificing, but the drinking of the children's blood. The belief that, it brings you power. Once again, this is all coming from Satan. Whoever believes this, whoever's involved in this, it's all directly coming from him. But, you hear these things and you think that these aren't things that aren't a possibility. But guess what? These are things that have been going on since the beginning of time. These are not new things. Years and years, thousands of years ago, that blood or the drinking of blood brings you some type of power, or it brings you health, or it helps you to age, better. Like, look it up. Like, these are beliefs. And once again, I'm not here to try to figure out who's doing it and who's not doing it, but I want you to understand how sick it is out here and how under attack our children is, and how God is laying the responsibility on us. Now, we know that ultimately we're putting them in his hands, but we do have a job to do. We do need to raise them up in the scriptures and make sure they're praying every night. Like, this is serious business, guys, because these aren't the only attacks you're going through. Like I said, internet, crime, drugs, like all of these things are grasping for their attention. But if we're not giving them the right attention and pointing them to the Lord, then guess what's going to happen? Something is going to get a hold of them. And, God forbid, it could be something that can possibly take their lives.
I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end, saith the Lord, which is, and which was, and which is to come, the Almighty. He which testifieth these things saith, Surely I come quickly. Amen. Even so, come, Lord Jesus.